Radio X presents
An Evening with Richard Ashcroft.
Thank you very much. I think without further ado, we should welcome the man we have all come to listen and talk to, the one and only, Mr. Richard Ashcroft.
Thank you.
Richard, it's great to have you here. Thank you very much for being part of Radio X's Evening with Richard Ashcroft.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be an evening with Richard Ashcroft without me, but it is a pleasure to be here. And also, I want to thank the audience for making this a sold-out event. And it's... I was speaking to John earlier, and just backstage then, and we were talking about how tonight's event, the money does actually go somewhere pretty fast, and you'll see direct action with this charity. So I want to thank everyone here who's contributed, and it's one of those nights where we can all leave, you know, happy that, you know, it's not just about my ego or me making more money or promoting myself. We have been involved in something that is actually legitimate charity that does do great things. So thank you very much, everyone.
Very true. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for making it happen. Richard, it's great to have you here. So Natural Rebel, new album, just out. And how do you feel about the 5th solo album being out there in the world now?
Yeah, very good. Excited. I think with my records, people understand now that it isn't something it's something, the songs grow with time, you know, so there are tunes off my album, Human Conditions, that, you know, almost make more sense in this day than they did then. And, you know, I think my songs have a depth and a timeless quality that, you know, I prefer looking back on a record, you know, in a few years rather than a few weeks, but I'm excited to be back and, you know, excited to be creating. And, you know, there's plenty more in store for me and my fans over the next couple of years, plenty more music.
I thought we could take this opportunity to explore your journey so far from psychedelic warrior to passionate troubadour.
Ooh. Nice couplet.
And I think Natural Rebel sums it up in a way. Do you think you were always a natural rebel if you go back in time?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Always, from day one?
Yes.
What kind of rebellious things were you doing then?
Well, it's not a really cliche of rebel, as in, you know, it's about finding situations where I was being told to conform to any kind of system that I found either stifling or boring or having no real... I couldn't see any reason for it. So a lot of the education system at the time was like that. It felt more like it was just, you know, at my school, bless them, but we had a few cauliflower-eared teachers who were ex-rugby players from the local club, and it seemed like once that career was over, you became a maths teacher at my school. So there was a lot of kind of, we had a lot of black belt teachers, if you know what I mean. It was kind of, it felt more like that kind of child minding, really, keeping X amount, you know, 1,000 people in one place for, you know, for X amount of hours. So school kind of added a bit more fuel to that kind of sense of can't wait to get out of this and try and carve out my own destiny, you know, and it's very difficult, but, and there aren't a lot of people, certainly where I came from, we weren't connected, anyone in my family, to the music industry. There wasn't any precedent, you know, other than the sort of Manchester bands and stuff, you know, that were quite local to us, but not very locally. There wasn't really a precedent for it either. So, you know, I think that helped, really. That helped. And what would I be conforming to, you know, because consistently the mainstream is, you know, let us down in a way, and that could be any way, you know, kind of news, all of it. It kind of lets us down. And culturally, you know, we've gone slightly backward within the mainstream, you know, because there was a period where, you know, bands like the Verve, Oasis, etc., were selling millions of albums, you know. And for me, those moments, a bit like when Nirvana happened, they offer an opportunity for the business to look at it and think, actually, you know, if you give people their own freedom to write and express themselves, human beings react to that. we're sick of processed things, etc. So, yeah, I think I've been a natural rebel for, most of my life,
When did music hit you? Was there can you remember a point when
There's various stages in my life. I mean, originally we had very few records, but we had a big pair of Sony headphones with bass and treble on, and, there was a couple of Beatles albums there. There was a soul compilation and a Carpenters album. So those were very happy days when I was really young, just the magic of that music. And then I kind of drifted out of music appreciation a little bit. It just became like it is for a lot of people, just there, but I wasn't really needing it. And I think the more profound change came because I was just like anyone else. Of that period, I'd tape the whole top 40 and I'd decipher what I liked. I wasn't told by any magazine or any tastemaker what was cool and not. I just liked melody and the things that caught my attention. So up until hearing How Soon Is Now by the Smiths, that was a big turning point for me. I realized there was this whole other world, but at the time I was too young to get involved in it, because there was no magazines that I knew about, etc. So, I think from then on, potentially probably the last year of high school and then going into college, something happened then that it became music, became like my true education. So the one thing that I enjoyed, discovery, and everything that you would do if you were great at kind of any subject, that you have a passion for. It was almost like music became the subject. So when we first got my flat, shared it with a guy called Wayne, and he went on to be the DJ before the Verve would play, and he played Nebworth before Oasis. He's done Coldplay tours now, but originally he was someone I met at college. And I think there's a lot of examples of someone like him as well, people who bring music into the social circle and turn people on, to stuff. So he was the one who brought me along to see the Stone Roses. And again, that was a pivotal change for me. It was such an exciting night. Sorry, hello. Maybe you can hear me now. It was such an exciting night at Warrington Legends when I saw the Stone Roses. I think a lot of people have those moments who form bands. They've had these seminal gigs that have completely transformed them. So I understand forever now how a concert can transform someone's life and the power of music. It can change an individual's course of their destiny. And that's why I always think that culturally here, we don't have the same respect that, say, hip-hop culture has in America for, some of the early, whether it be a Run DMC or, and you can follow this lineage. And it's the same with us, but we just don't respect it the same way. We just don't understand the power of what, say, a band like the Stone Roses had and the influence they then had on our culture, So I think that's why I always tip a hat to them, because I understand how transformative it was for me personally that night, everything about it,
And it continues to be a theme in your work. I mean, from the very early days, from This Is Music to Music Is Power to the new album, you always have songs which seem to celebrate and tell people about the power of music and how transformative it can be.
Yeah, and the act of making it, and creating. And it doesn't have to be something that's commercial. It's just for your own well-being, like expressing yourself. Because we are forced to conform in so many different elements of life or part of the day, we have to, we kind of, that's why I always think the Oscars are funny because, we all could win an Oscar on a daily basis, I'm sure. We're having a shit day, but we're pretending to everyone, yeah, how are you today? Yeah, great. Oh, I'm great. That's why I used to freak them out in trainer stores in America, because within 10 yards, you were asked, how's your day, sir, And this is years ago, I'd start hitting them with, the long monologue about the terrible look I was having. And then that kind of shuts them up. You just go, listen, mate, I'm suicidal at the moment. I just want a pair of size 9s. If you don't get me those trainers fast, That's why you should never go to, we don't like mentioning brands on Radio X, but I will. Don't ever go to Sports Direct if you're in a hurry. Don't ever think you can get football boots for your son in Sports Direct unless you have 2.5 hours to spare. Because you know what's happening. The walkie-talkie, yeah. Size 9, yeah. Adidas, yeah. Molded, no. Just sit over there, please, mate. I'm like, all right, I'll sit over there. Wondering how you've amassed so much shit into one room, man. You're serious? I've said before, the only things that will survive the apocalypse are cockroaches and those massive Sports Direct bags. They're very useful. They are a bag for life. They're not just a bag for life. They're a bag for the afterlife.
So going back to school, one good thing for you about school was that you met the other members of the Verve at school and at college.
I met a couple of members at school and then Nick at college, yeah.
And do you think, you know, along with Wayne, who you've already mentioned, you know, this little group of people allowed you to develop what you had to give to the world? Because I'm interested in where Richard Ashcroft, the stage performer, came from. Because from the off, Verve shows were always known because of one of the performers on stage who was you and what you would give to an audience and how much you would live through the music. And that was one of the things that people were always amazed by.
I think it comes from death, if you want the honest answer. It comes from mortality. It comes from an understanding of time and how little we have. So when you found it quite difficult to get to the point where you have an audience and a stage and this is your moment, then you better make it happen. So when I was young, I would probably express that more than anything of you know, I know how precious this is, you know, and I know how powerful it is. But if you're talking about how people help you and how progress and stuff, I think it goes different ways, you know. Sometimes, you know, someone's carrying someone's carrying someone else, you know, in the early days of a band. So, yeah, I just think it was, I think it was crazy. We were very, very anti, at the beginning, kind of conforming. So the record company were quite excited until they heard our second single was 11 minutes long, you know? But yeah, you know, those are the kind of decisions you make. And I think when you've got nothing really and you're making those decisions, I think that's a lot braver than, you know, you've got someone really established making a quote-unquote non-commercial experimental album. It's like, well, cool, just go back to your pool and swim. If no one buys it, it doesn't really matter, do you know what I mean? But when your shit depends on this and you're making those decisions, looking back, it's like, yeah, it was pretty crazy. But I was part of a band then. You know, I'm not saying personally whether I would have made that decision myself, you know, on my own. I think I was more the, if anything, maybe because I was the guy who taped the top 40 and all that, I think I'm always been the more popular-minded person, you know, and I love that. I always thought that the greatest achievements were by, you know, whether it be a Phil Spector or a Brian Wilson or the Beatles, these people that were popular but had depth. So they brought depth into the popular mainstream and they didn't patronize us as an audience. That's the biggest thing that happens is people get patronized, you know, as if we haven't got a brain, as if we don't want to feel real emotion. And I think when, you know, a lot of the blocks I have, whether it be critically or any other way, is because I will not accept that, you know what I mean? I will not accept that that's the future, that the future is just this Xerox watered-down version of something that I know isn't the spirit. Because you ain't got the spirit, and you ain't got soul, then you shouldn't be on the stage, you know? And if you can't sing, I don't know why you're singing. You see what I mean? It's a real basic thing. It's like, who told all these people they could sing when they can't sing?
When did you realize you could sing? And when did you realize
I realized I could sing.
Voice?
I realized I could sing when they chose me to sing the Lord's Prayer at school. Seriously. Just me and one other guy, and then the whole school would join in on the Hallowed Be Thy Name. And I'm telling you, when the sun, no, this is a serious, man. When the sun was coming through the windows in those mornings, and then the whole school would join in, who's to say that that wasn't a more profound than headlining Glastonbury? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because it was real. It was real. And it was someone believing in you as well. And another time, at the school disco, I got up on stage and sang a naughty song about, I think there was a song going around where it was Jailhouse Rock. Yeah. But it ended with Rip My Balls on a Rusty Nail. And this was at 10 years old. And I just remember seeing the teachers' faces in the back. You know, when they change from sort of, oh, to like, get him off. Get him off. And we ended that school disco by the whole school sang Pink Floyd, Brick in the Wall, to the teachers. Because that was a hit then. That was a hit. It was big in the charts. Imagine that. A whole hall of kids pointing at the teachers singing that song. Great times, yeah, that was good.
That sounds amazing. That sounds almost as transformative as
But I
singing
didn't
the
sing,
Stone Roses.
Bizarrely, when you going back to the Verve and the beginning days, I actually think, it'd be easy to paint a beautiful classic picture here. But in fact, I think the early days of the Verve, I put myself back as a vocalist way too much. I became too insecure about expressing myself for a while. And this completely changed on Northern Soul. I wasn't going to do that anymore. I wasn't going to sit back and be this instrument or put a load of reverb on anything. No, bollocks to that. I was going to go straight for the heart. So I've never looked back from then. I've always sung from the heart. I've never been, but it was interesting how I started a certain way, pre the album, Storm in Heaven, and I went within myself too much, and I think that was just insecurity of being young and, suddenly it's on the line and then you kind of step back sonically, you take yourself back as an instrument instead of putting yourself up there, But I learned that lesson and obviously I've not made that mistake again,
Yeah. Do you think that insecurity helps explain the ups and downs of the Verve? Because you...
No, not my insecurity,
right.
No.
Right.
No. That doesn't, no. That's just one grain of sand in a, that's just one thing, tiny thing. And that was a brief thing as well. In fact, the opposite of my insecurity, my boldness, is the only reason anyone got to hear about us in the first place. So without my energy, which was the contrary to putting my vocals back, that's the only reason people got to hear about us. And like you said, my performances when I played live.
Yeah. Vital stuff. It just seems such a fragile thing, the Verve. That the relationship between the four of you, then the five of you, it makes me wonder. That's one of the reasons why.
Well, I'll tell you
they get
what.
so
I think
loved.
if you wanted me to give clarity on why or what was the main factor, what I'd be doing was changing. I made a decision quite a number of years ago that I'd see how it pans out. I'll see if any other member starts to try and rewrite any kind of the history. I'll see how many, bizarre takes on the events stack up. And then maybe one day I'll go, you know what? I'll write the book. But I'm a human being, and sometimes just revealing other people's lives in a attempt to make myself appear, which I know is true though. So if I'm attempting to make myself like the kind of the saint in this, that would be wrong. But I think what has happened is, because I've kind of remained a little bit silent on the subject, because I don't want to burn people out publicly, I don't want to just say, here we go, this is what I was dealing with. I'm not that kind of guy. But, you know, in the future, if things mount up, then who knows? But for a number of years now, whether it be 15, 20 years, I've kept a kind of similar attitude to it. It's like, I don't want to be responsible for messing up someone, you know? I don't want to be responsible for that. Because the things that went on within the Verve, it was heavy stuff, it was real. It wasn't just frivolous nonsense, you know what I mean? You Spinal Tap as well, because every band ends up, you know, they're going to have those Spinal Tap moments. But there was real people's lives with real emotions. And yeah, I've never thought about completely clarifying it, because I know the damage that clarifying it will do. So I am prepared to take any bizarre, misshapen, fucked up version of that reality said by anyone. Any ex-member of the band can say what the fuck they like, because I know the truth, and I'm cool with it. And I know what I've done since the band, and I know what I'll continue to do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, just judge me by my works, not fucking by some kind of like, oh, someone said this and someone said that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's too real to be tabloided.
Yeah. Urban Hymns celebrated 20 years of existence last year, and I'm sure that's the album that is one of the reasons why we're all here tonight. I mean, those songs still sound amazing. Did you celebrate that anniversary at all?
No. No. It's not necessary to celebrate that. You know what I mean? It's just a year. I think that's something that we become, or we've had forced on us. Lists. 20 years of that. So what? What about 21 years? Isn't that better? About 22? It's 2 years on. It's even bigger. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm honored in a sense to have been part, you know, of this country. I love this country. And Urban Hymns was worldwide, but you got to mean something in your own country, I think. You really do. And I think to have songs that I know from meeting people, some of those songs have played like a big role in some of the serious times in their lives, whether they be joyous or they be sorrow, you know. And that is, as a songwriter, or is only something that you know, it's an honor to you know, and also a blessing to be given that kind of material and be the one to bring it out, you know.
Yeah. We've only got a certain amount of time. I've got a lot of my own questions, but also we asked these nice people here if they had any questions for you. And I wanted to get through a few of those as well. Yeah. And talking of songs, hello to Paul Jusif, is it? Paul, anyway, your favorite song on the new album, or I'm extending that to favorite songs within the whole 25 years of making music as Richard Ashcroft?
Wow. On the album at the moment, I love That's How Strong, Birds Fly to Warmer Climes. But over the years, you know, again, it's sort of songs that, in a way, I'm not learning from, but I'm thinking, yeah, you know, that has a timeless quality, because now I'm 20 years older, but it's resonating with me still. I'm learning from it. So, you know, of all times, it'd be like a sonnet or Lucky Man and Song for the Lovers and things that people don't really know, like Brave New World, songs like that, that I'm still, the odd time I ever play it, I'm like, yeah, man, I like that. Get My Beat. Yeah, Velvet Morning, History.
There's a lot.
Yeah, Check the Meaning. Check the Meaning, yeah, man. Check the Meaning. Check the Meaning. Yeah, there's another one that reminds me of the Verve. Not in the sense sonically, it's just in my attitude. There you go. There's the single. And then again, that was when I first started feeling again radio stations editing stuff, people chopping stuff out, you know, all that crap. It's like musicians in this country have lost we've lost it. We've lost the power. The power has been given to is in the wrong hands, you know. The creators should hold the keys. When the Beatles said, listen to Hey Jude, they didn't expect someone with Pro Tools to take out the end because it was too long. Can you imagine? We just finished Hey Jude, and some kid at a radio station gets told by the guy that it's too long, so he does a little edit on his computer, And no one got to hear na 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 na. Because radio knows best. They write better songs than the Beatles. So, in many ways, you know, of course, we've been force-fed the whole, well, we haven't, but a number of generations now of kids have, you know, I've had it even mentioned back 10 years, you know, a young kid said, oh, was it the X Factor? Is that how he did it? You know? So, with that side of it hogging a big piece of the pie, and the fact that the creators and the innovators, the people from the other side, are having their work bastardized or messed up by people, you know, we're in a difficult situation, you know, because we can't have it anymore. So I realized when Natural Rebel came out, I just said to myself, I don't care who you are, radio station. You don't play the tune, I'm not coming in. I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? You either play my music or I don't come in. I don't come in with my acoustic giving you 4 songs that you're going to play after I'm dead. Hey, here's those exclusive 5 acoustic songs Richard Ashcroft did. You know, to those free students revising at the time. But we've repackaged it now. And you can hear it on the moon with Elon Musk.
But the good thing is that Radio X do play your music, Richard, which is a good thing. And we love playing your music.
You know.
So you've come to the right place.
We know it's a charity event, so, you know, I'm here for that reason. But, of course, the other reason is that Radio X play my music, yeah.
And we always will. And talking of the music, I'm trying to get through some of these questions. Hello to Paul Thompson, who was wondering what comes first, the melody or the lyrics, because they are both Fukin top.
Nice.
He's put Fukin.
Fukin. They used to change my fucks to Fuk as well. In The Enemy, in the Melody Maker, etc. But yeah, man, sometimes, yeah, exactly at the same time. You know, most often they come at the same time, the melody and a chunk of the words. Might work on the words a little bit later on, but I'm not a person to write stuff down. I never write anything down. Never write a lyric down. Barely ever. But I like to let it flow because I've noticed that even like some of the more powerful lines like drugs don't work, etc., and when I came out of the writing process, my normal self was like, whoa. You know what I mean? Whoa, what's that? You know, so I think it's good to get in that state of mind where you're not over-analytical or analyzing your words too much. You're in that flow, and then you let it flow and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's it. But what if you lose that moment, that amazing lyric that pops into your head?
I've done it loads of times. Yeah. You know, the bizarre thing is I've got 20 years worth of ideas here, and sometimes, like Birds Fly, you know, I've had that for a long time, but I hadn't finished it. And if a melody keeps coming back after 10 years, I'm not afraid to say, you know, that is doing this for a reason. Because I'm remembering it. It's pushing itself into the front of my consciousness. I'm going to finish it. So I enjoy the fact that I might lose it. It's kind of a weird indulgence that I know walking in the woods sometimes I've written a classic and forgotten it by the time I got out.
I'm just thinking of what we're losing. No, just through a walk in the woods, we're missing a future classic.
But I think it's got to be that natural, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be done, not done, I'm not even doing anything. I'm walking, but I'm writing a song or a melody's arrived and it's in my head, you know? And I think that's a beautiful thing just to do as a pastime anyway, you know? And I'm sure like poets or people do the similar thing. Writers must be walking and writing at the same time. And I think to be easy go in that way can be a good thing as well, you know, I think. To just let it go because it was my walk. It was my moment, my song. Gone. It was inspired by the wind through the trees or the stream or whatever it was. It might have been inspired by an urban walk. I might be out 4:30 in the morning. I love walking around the odd times when I'm up all night I'll go for a walk around half 4 through the shops, see all the shop lights still on, and knowing about empty B-movie stuff. That's got its own atmosphere as well, you know, where you can compose in your mind, and you're just looking at the same streets that are teeming with life, only in a few hours' time. And that's got its own special quality too. So I think driving, again, is another great place to, in your mind, write. I think we can all do it. That's the crazy thing. We've been taught that this is a mystery. It's not a mystery. It's like we all can do it. Like we're all creative. We've just been I realized that in the early days of recording, a lot of the old school, the old boys, they wanted to keep stuff a mystery, you know? And in a way, technology's brought a hell of a lot of negative things. We know that, but it's kind of democratized making music as well, you know, and recording music. So people try to make this a mystery, songwriting a mystery. It isn't a mystery. I'm no good. You know, any guitar player in here will know more chords than me. They'll be able to do all that jazz stuff. Oh, and they're up here, down here. I'm like, wow. You know, and that's what I often say when I play Lucky Man. I'd say to the crowd, that's G, D, and A with E minor. That's the only other chord in it, and then the rest is up to you. The rest is up to you, you know, and what you can find within G, D, and A or any of these chords is incredible. You know, you can move people, you can, all cultures around the world, you know, like I said to you earlier, you know, what a lot of people don't get in England, more like the spirit snipers, the negative creeps, that I got an audience all around the world. And that negativity that flows in this country doesn't flow there. They hear it without any of the bullshit. So, yeah, to think that G, D, and A, and E minor, and a melody can carry all around the world. It don't matter that it's a different language. Music is the language, you know what I mean? Mm. So it's great, it's good. Anyone can do it, we can all do it. It's punk rock, you know, and punk was right. You do it yourself. Don't let anybody say that what you're doing isn't right, you know, because whatever it is, it's something. It's better than doing nothing. It's better than just being passive. Or even if you've got a job you don't like, if you've got a spare bit of time, do it. Do your own song. Folk art, that's why I like folk art. You know, the series Jarvis Cocker did, I thought was great. Mm. When he was touring these folk art sites around the world. And it's inspiring that. It's people who've just done it themselves without any sense of the commercial gain or anything, just doing stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any negativity in the room tonight.
Oh, there's no negativity in the room. We're all good tonight.
And this is illustrated by this next question. Blair Sutherland wants to know, we're getting married on the 30th of December 2018. Congratulations, Blair. Round of applause. And we've got Song for the Lovers as our first dance.
Oh, fantastic.
What inspired you to write it? What's the meaning behind it?
Congratulations, by the way, and good luck. And thank you for choosing that song. Like I said earlier, people do another instance of this, what I'm talking about. You know, that's one of the biggest moments in their lives. And I'm happy to be the soundtrack to that. But for me, I was in a hotel in London, and it was a pretty shoddy hotel. And back in the day, there was still some of those bed heads left with built-in radios. Don't know if any of the older people will remember that in the audience. But in some hotels, they would have a radio built into the bed head. And I was in a love situation, a bit of a love affair thing going down, and I turned the radio on and Love Will Tear Us Apart, bizarrely, came out of this radio on the bed head. And that's what it kind of triggered this Play Misty for me thing of DJ, play a song for the lovers, because the timing of this tune, Love Will Tear Us Apart, coming out of this bed head, just seemed perfect, you know? So I decided, right, what about expanding that thought to make the song for the lovers, you know, a song for that feeling of trepidation, anxiety, excitement. You're on the precipice. Potentially this person might be with you for life. Who knows where we're heading, but we're definitely now on the train together. We're definitely gone beyond just thinking about it or talking. We are now lovers, you know, and everything that's going to come with it. So, and the song itself was, you know, at the time I was listening to a lot of Scott Walker and things like that, and just wanted to write some big Scott Walker, Chic. You know, it was pretty future music, man. It was like, there was nothing else out like that song then. I think I was beaten off #1 by Craig David and Sweet as Chocolate. You know, which is a tune. Sweet as Chocolate is a tune because it's gone down as a classic of its genre from that time, and I appreciate that. So it's weird when you got a great record of your own out, but you're dealing with a phenomena in Sweet as Chocolate. Because you got to imagine, Song for Lovers sold like 200,000 something copies in the first week. Like, people can't sell 25 copies in the first month now, do you know what I mean? People don't sell nothing now.
It's a question from Shane, who says, all right, Dickie. My first gig was V98 with the Verve.
Right.
What was your first gig? And Shane has a request. Please play Brave New World. Yeah, there's actually quite a few requests. I can't go through them all, but that's a request for Brave New World. First gig, I mean, you mentioned the Stone Roses. You mentioned that amazing thing at school where everybody sang We Don't Need No Education for Teachers.
That was extraordinary, yeah. I can't, you know, the bizarre thing is, I know the gig, it was in St. Helens Citadel, but I cannot remember for the life of me who they were. They must have been awful, because I can't even remember who they were. But I do look at that. I kind of say first gig, I always say the Warrington Legends, Stone Roses, you know, that was the first real gig. Yeah. I went to other gigs, but they didn't have that impression. Yeah. They didn't move me, you know, in that way. The magic wasn't there, so I only count a real gig when the magic happens, you know.
Here's a deep one from Claire.
Wow.
What has been the biggest challenge of your career?
The biggest challenge? God, that's a good question. There have been a lot of challenges, you know. But I think the biggest challenge was going from having no money really, no fame on a certain level, and then it all arriving in a very short period of time, and the amount of, the effect that has on everyone around you, you know, and your personal relationships, the responsibility of it, you know, the fact you never cared about it and liked spending it, liked nice things, nice clothes, etc., but it isn't my, you know, raison d'etre. But at the same time, we're being sold that it could be you. So it was a challenge because I felt like I was being treated like a lottery winner, like I hadn't actually created anything, or I wasn't. It felt to me like a lot of people don't feel like you deserve this thing. And obviously, if you were to balance it out to a nurse or someone like that, yeah, of course, you know, we can look at a footballer's wage compared to someone like that, and it is outrageous. But it was lottery winner culture, and it was a culture where people thought that, seriously, that money could resolve so many different things. And I think that was the biggest challenge, is getting through that period where, you know, your whole thing's fundamentally changed overnight. Not only can you not go out like you could, you know, people want something from you that you've never had before. You know, and you know it's not changing you. You know that it's not a magic wand for you. So you know it's not a magic one for anyone else. But that's a privilege, you know, it's a privilege to have that. Because I was the catalogue kid. Me and my mate would go through every page of the K's catalogue, yeah? And you get first pick. First pick. First pick on each page, man, and you had to do everything. Washing machines, the lot. Yeah, Freeman's catalogue. No, so what it was, we were a branded generation. We used to draw logos on our books. Lacoste and Fila and Kappa, and we wore like Farrah trousers, Adidas shoes, Pringle jumpers, Ben Sherman shirts. We were like so branded. So, you know, that's something that when you can kicks in and you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to check out this Gucci store in Paris right now. Buy this safari jacket. And I'm not even going to look at how much the fucking thing is. Just going to walk in, give me that coat. I love it. Because I'm the catalogue kid.
Now you've got kids of your own. Has that had an impact on your music,
yeah.
or how you view the world?
I don't know how much impact on music. How I view the world, of course, it's going to fundamentally change a lot of things. It's going to change a little bit how you behave to a certain extent, you'd hope. You know, if you're someone like me, you know, you can't just, you know, you got to, you know, but essentially I realized I'm not that good at it. You know, I'm not great at it. I've been around. That's about the one good thing I potentially have done is I've been around. You know, I've never gone on big tours. I left them. You know, I'll probably do more touring once my youngest is left home than I've done for years. But that's been a conscious decision for me because, you know, I know that without my family, I'm nothing. You know what I mean? Family is everything to me, even though I'm not great at it. But I try and, you know what I'm saying? But it's important to me because I wouldn't be here now without Kate. I wouldn't be still doing it without her love and guidance. And you know, you just look at the world in a different way because you want to protect your children, you know what I mean? You want to protect them from everything. So you're looking at all dangers, all potentialities. You know, even from the early days, we'd be on tour in America, and as soon as you get in a hotel room, you got to move the coffee table because the toddler might bang his head on the glass table. You know, everything, every room you go in is a potential head injury, do you know what I'm saying? So it changes you fundamentally, yeah, of course it does. And you know what really did my head in was when my son did first come out, again, the press made such a big thing about me being a father. It's like, all right, yeah, ask me about being a father once, but 1,000 times, it's like, you know, that's what happens, you know? We have children. We get married and that, and some of us have children, you know? And I think I said to you earlier, but I truly believe that we were entering the decade of promoting nihilism, man. And I wasn't adhering to the new script. The new script was for Pete Doherty, people like that. It was for them to project that image of Richard Ashcroft keeping his shit together, marrying someone and having a family and that, and not fucking up. Funnily enough, wasn't the image that people wanted projecting, which I think it says a lot. It says a lot of where we are now and why. You know, I only came to this understanding over the last few years. What was all that about? What was it all about? It was all about that death, negativity, and nihilism. And that is the engine of this industry. Yeah. That's why Kurt Cobain's estate earns so much every year now. Yeah. Death sells in this industry. Nihilism. They want that to be projected at all times. So when you're suddenly saying, hang on a minute, I was in this crazy band, I was this lunatic. Check me out now. Not only were you calling me Mad Richard when I was a kid, yeah? So now we're right on about mental illness now though, aren't we? Yeah, but I was Mad Richard. But then a few years later, I was picking up an Ivor Novello award for The Drugs Don't Work. You know what I mean? Who's the mad one? Who's the mad one? So I've had all these elements exploited. So you've got Kanye now talking about how, you know, people are exploiting his bipolar. Did Kanye, for the first X amount of years of his career, did he have the prefix of mad before his name? No, he didn't. And would any of these also PC journalists now do the same thing to anyone else? Oh, no, they wouldn't. So I'm proud of that tag. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can call me mad. Call me mad. Do you know what I mean? Ban me from music at school. Don't let me take it as a GCSE. Ban me from art. Call me the cancer of the class. Because it's all food for me. It's motivation. Do you know what I mean? And as like people seen recently who follow me and stuff, they seen me burn the enemy. Because I didn't even read the thing, but when you don't make anything anymore to me, when you're just a website, when you're just passing on news that you've got from some other website about some American artist, you mean nothing to me. You're not the enemy. You don't exist anymore. You're over. You think you're the zeitgeist. You're about 25 years in the past. You're just a website. So I don't give a shit. And whether other musicians and this, that, and the other wake up or just carry on being these suckers, little robots, that's up to them. Because I'll just go for a walk in the woods. I don't care. But I won't be, I'm not programmed. I'm not programmed like them. Yeah. They don't even see it. So, you know, I'm sure they don't care when their song's edited or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just changing the subject slightly for Mark and Jennifer from the floor. Hi, Richard.
Hello.
What's your favourite cheese?
Yeah.
Ours is brie, apparently.
That is a great question, because I love cheese, man. But you know, I tell you, when you're in America on tour for a while, unless you've got your own catering who've brought a substantial amount of mature cheddar, back in the day it got difficult because you were just eating that processed stuff all the time. But I am a mature cheddar, but, you know, I do think a little bit of Roquefort in a salad now and again. But I tell you where I draw the line. I draw the line at the cheeses that I think if you wore trainers consistently for the hottest summer on record, yeah? You slept in them and then took them off in September and took out that inner sole and you put some of that stinking Bishops up next to it, no one would know the difference. So once a cheese smells like an inner sole of a well-worn trainer, that's where I draw the line.
That's a fair point. And I'm glad that we raised that issue tonight. Thank you, Mark and Jennifer.
I'm glad we've cleared this up.
We're going to give you a little break, but you're going to be back in a few minutes to play some songs for us. You've got a little set up here.
Little combo.
Little what's 50s the combo, and what can we expect?
I'm not sure. Actually, I've got a couple off the new ones, some old ones, that
Excellent.
kind of thing. A few
and
tunes.
who's playing with you tonight? Or will you introduce them when they come on stage?
Yeah, I've got Damon, Steve Wyman, and Steve Sedalnik. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All the way from Oakland.
Fantastic. We're going to let you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard Ashcroft.
Radio X.